Congress is actively moving on a major Social Security benefit increase, and the vast majority of recipients have absolutely no idea it is happening. What if your check grew by more than $200 every single month starting as early as next year? Not because of a routine cost of living adjustment, not because of standard inflation indexing, but because Congress is right now advancing legislation that would fundamentally restructure how Social Security benefits are calculated and paid out to millions of current recipients. And here is what should concern every person collecting Social Security today. This is not a rumor. This is not speculation. These are real bills with real numbers that have already passed through real congressional committees with genuine bipartisan support, and the overwhelming majority of recipients have no idea any of it is happening. Why does that matter? Because these legislative decisions will directly determine how much money deposits into your bank account every month, whether you can cover groceries without choosing between food and medication, whether your retirement budget can absorb rising housing costs and climbing utility bills, whether millions of retired teachers, firefighters, police officers, and government workers finally receive the full benefits they spent entire careers earning. This breaks down every major Social Security proposal currently moving through Congress, who benefits by how much, and exactly what you should do right now. Why Congress is seriously discussing a benefit increase right now. The average monthly Social Security retirement benefit sits at approximately $1,900. For roughly half of all retired Americans, Social Security represents more than 50% of their monthly income. For 1 in 4, it represents 90% or more of everything they receive. Now consider what has happened to living costs. Groceries, housing, prescriptions, utilities, transportation, all substantially higher, and the cost of living adjustments applied in recent years, while historically significant in percentage terms, have simply not kept pace with what retired households actually spend. Seniors spend proportionally more on healthcare, housing, and food than the general population. But the standard inflation index used for COLA calculations does not fully capture that reality. The result is a real, measurable, financially painful gap between what benefits currently provide and what retirees actually need to live with basic dignity. Congress is acutely aware of this, and Congress is equally aware that Social Security recipients vote in primaries, in general elections, and especially in midterms. That combination of genuine economic hardship and strong political motivation is driving serious legislative action right now, with multiple bills advancing simultaneously and more bipartisan support than we have seen in years. The Social Security Expansion Act. This is one of the most consequential proposals currently under active consideration. The central provision, a $200 per month increase for the majority of current and future recipients. For a retiree at the average benefit level, that is more than a 10% monthly income increase. For married couples where both receive Social Security, the combined household gain exceeds $400 every month, or $4,800 per year. That amount covers several months of groceries, a substantial portion of annual prescription costs, multiple months of utility bills, real breathing room for people who currently have none. Beyond the immediate increase, the legislation also proposes replacing the current COLA formula, which uses the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners, with the Consumer Price Index for the elderly, known as the CPI-E. This index actually tracks the goods and services retirees purchase, including healthcare and housing. Independent analysts project that CPI-E would produce modestly but consistently higher annual adjustments, and over a 20-plus year retirement, that difference accumulates into significantly more lifetime income. The funding mechanism, expanded payroll tax contributions on earned income above $250,000 per year. Currently, income above the taxable cap faces zero Social Security payroll tax. This proposal would change that for high earners, the same way working-class and middle-class Americans already pay on every dollar they earn. This gives the legislation real fiscal credibility that pure benefit proposals without funding mechanisms simply do not have. The Social Security Fairness Act, critical for public sector retirees. If you spent your career as a teacher, firefighter, police officer, or any public sector employee, this section could directly affect your monthly income by hundreds of dollars. The Social Security Fairness Act targets two specific provisions that have been quietly reducing or eliminating Social Security benefits for public sector retirees for decades. The windfall elimination provision reduces the Social Security benefit of workers who also receive a pension from employment that was not covered by Social Security payroll taxes. Many public sector jobs operate under separate pension systems. Workers who have both types of employment history receive a less generous Social Security calculation, costing many affected retirees several $100s per month permanently. The government pension offset reduces spousal and survivor Social Security benefits by 2/3 of the government pension amount, and in many cases, wipes them out entirely. A widow who worked as a public school teacher, receiving a teacher's pension, could lose every dollar of the survivor benefit from her late husband's lifetime of private sector contributions. Completely gone, due to a provision most people never knew existed when they chose their career. Both provisions have long been criticized for unfairly penalizing public servants who often accepted lower salaries in exchange for the promise of retirement security, only to find that Social Security rules would significantly cut their total income in ways they were never adequately warned about. The Social Security Fairness Act would eliminate both provisions completely and permanently. For affected retirees, monthly benefit restoration could range from modest amounts to several $100s, depending on work history and pension amounts. For those currently receiving zero survivor benefit solely because of the government pension offset, the change would restore income that was effectively stripped away entirely. This bill has already cleared significant legislative milestones with broad bipartisan support, because public sector retirees exist in every congressional district in every state, and their organized advocacy carries real political weight. The funding reality. Every recipient must understand. Any honest discussion of Social Security expansion must include a clear look at the program's financial condition. The Social Security trustees project that the combined trust fund reserves will be depleted within approximately the next decade if Congress takes no action. Trust fund depletion does not mean benefits stop. Ongoing payroll tax revenue would still cover roughly 75% to 80% of scheduled benefits, but it does mean an automatic across-the-board benefit reduction of 20% to 25% at the moment reserves run out, with no transition period and no warning. For a retiree currently receiving $1,800 per month, a 20% cut means losing $360 every month, permanently. That is not a manageable inconvenience for someone living on fixed income. It is a financial emergency. Congress has known about this projected shortfall for years, and yet, because every solution involves difficult choices, higher payroll contributions, adjusted benefit formulas, modified retirement ages, lawmakers have consistently deferred action. But the projected depletion date has moved close enough to the present that continued inaction is becoming genuinely untenable. The political cost of doing nothing is beginning to exceed the political cost of acting. That is exactly why comprehensive proposals pairing benefit increases with long-term funding solutions are gaining serious momentum right now. What the timeline means for you already receiving benefits. Any increase enacted would apply going forward from the effective date established in the final legislation. Track that date carefully for planning purposes. Approaching your filing date. Do not delay your filing decision solely based on anticipated legislative outcomes. Legislative timelines are uncertain. Base your claiming decision on your personal financial situation, health, and current benefit calculations. Consult a qualified financial planner or Social Security counselor for personalized strategy. Public sector retirees affected by WEP or GPO. Track the Social Security Fairness Act actively. If enacted, contact the SSA directly to understand how and when your benefit will be recalculated under the updated rules. Disability, spousal, or survivor benefit recipients. Proposed changes could affect your benefit category differently than retired worker benefits. Each category has its own calculation rules and its own specific relationship to the proposals under consideration. How to stay accurately informed. Go to primary sources. Do not rely entirely on secondhand summaries. Congress.gov, free public access to full bill text, committee activity, voting records, and real-time status tracking for every piece of legislation. SSA.gov, authoritative current benefit rules, proposed changes, and consumer-focused explanations of how legislative changes would affect different recipient categories. Social Security Trustees' Annual Report, the most reliable independent assessment of the program's financial health, with summary sections written for general readers, your elected representatives' offices, available for constituent questions and Social Security-related services. SSA's national toll-free number for account-specific questions only the agency can answer. 7 steps to take right. Now 1. Create or log into your My Social Security account at ssa.gov. Review your full earnings history and projected benefits. Many people discover errors in their record only when they finally check, and corrections become harder the longer they wait. 2. If you may be affected by WEP or GPO, document your complete work history, both Social Security covered and non-covered employment. Know your current baseline so you can evaluate the real personal impact if the Fairness Act passes. 3. Review your monthly budget honestly. Know the exact gap between your current Social Security income and your actual expenses. That number tells you what a $200 increase actually means to your life. 4. Track the specific bills at congress.gov. Contact your elected representatives as a constituent who depends on Social Security. Your voice matters in this process. 5. Understand your claiming age options and the permanent benefit implications of each. Knowing the trade-offs between claiming early, at full retirement age, and delaying to 70 gives you essential context for your planning. 6. If you have a spouse, discuss these developments together. Spousal benefits, survivor benefits, and the potential GPO elimination may all affect your combined household picture significantly. 7. Bookmark ssa.gov and set a monthly calendar reminder to check for updates. The pace of legislative activity right now makes regular monitoring genuinely valuable. What to remember? Congress is engaged in the most significant Social Security legislative discussions in years. Real bills with real bipartisan support are moving right now, not just sitting as political talking points. The Social Security Expansion Act proposes a $200 monthly increase for most recipients, funded through payroll tax adjustments on higher earners. The Social Security Fairness Act would permanently eliminate WEP and GPO, restoring benefits that have been quietly reduced or stripped away from millions of public sector retirees for decades. And long-term solvency reform is advancing in parallel because the funding timeline has moved close enough to the present that continued inaction is no longer politically sustainable. You paid into the system every paycheck throughout your working life. You earn the right to know what is happening with your benefits. You deserve accurate, unfiltered information about the decisions being made in Washington that will directly determine your monthly income. Stay informed, stay engaged. Share this with every Social Security recipient you know. The more informed the public is, the more accountable Washington must be. This content is provided for general educational and informational purposes only. Social Security laws and legislative proposals change frequently. Always consult the SSA's official resources and qualified financial or legal professionals for guidance specific to your individual situation.